Hey everyone, today we're diving into a book that could change the way you see and connect with people, How to Know a Person by David Brooks. If you've ever struggled to truly understand the people around you, or felt like your relationships could go deeper, this episode is for you. By the end of this episode, you'll have practical insights to strengthen your connections, with friends, coworkers, or even yourself. We're about to unlock the secrets to knowing not just others, but yourself in a whole new way.
Oh, yeah. Great book.
So I've got excerpts, we've got some analysis ready to go. And I have to say, it's funny because we live in this crazy hyper-connected world, right? But sometimes it feels like actual connection is harder than ever.
I know. It's weird.
And that's what I think is so interesting about Brooks's book. Like, he's really tapping into something here, right? About really seeing people.
Yeah.
Understanding vulnerability, taking those steps to build stronger relationships. It's like, I don't know.
It's like a guide, almost.
It's like, it's a decoder ring for how to actually connect with other humans, which I think we could all use a little help with.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And you're so right about that paradox of connection in our digital world. Like, that's really the core of what Brooks is getting at.
Okay, so tell me a little bit more about Brooks, because I know he's written a lot of stuff, but what makes him the authority on this,
Well, he's not just some self-help guru,
Right.
Like, he spent years as a writer for the New York Times, and he's always weaving together these insights from, like, sociology, psychology, philosophy, all to understand how we, behave as humans.
Mm-hmm.
So when he tackles a topic like knowing a person, it's with, real depth. It goes beyond just surface level advice.
Yeah.
Which I think.
Yeah, no, that makes me feel better because I get a little wary of the fluffy self-help stuff.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
So if Brooks is saying that we're actually less connected despite all these ways we can supposedly reach each other.
Yeah.
Where do we even begin to fix that? Like, what's the starting point?
Well, he lays out this whole framework for becoming better at just seeing people.
Mm.
And that's where it gets really interesting. It's not just about making eye contact.
Right.
But truly observing, noticing those nonverbal cues, without instantly slapping a judgment on someone. Almost like you're an actor, studying a character, trying to understand their motivations.
Okay, I'm picturing those intense observation exercises they make you do in acting class.
Exactly.
Where you're just laser focused.
We got it.
It's like we're so quick to categorize people, but we rarely take the time to just observe them with genuine curiosity.
That's so true. And, this deeper level of seeing leads right into what Brooks argues is one of the most crucial skills. Listening.
Listening. Okay, I'm going to confess something here.
Yeah.
I'm awesome at hearing people. The actual listening part, not so much, especially if it's a story I think is going nowhere.
And that's where the distinction Brooks makes is so important, right?
Yeah.
Hearing is passive. We do it all the time.
Right.
But listening, the kind that leads to truly knowing someone, requires empathy. Trying to actually grasp their perspective,
right,
even if you don't agree with it.
So it's about stepping out of your own head and really tuning in to their frequency. I think we've all had those moments where we felt truly heard by someone.
Yeah.
And it is powerful. But how do we get better at that, especially when, I don't know about you, but my brain is so used to just waiting for my turn to talk.
Oh, I know. Well, Brooks gives some really, tactical advice. Asking open-ended questions instead of leading ones.
Yeah.
But the real shift has to be internal, It's about cultivating that genuine desire to understand.
Right, which then makes you less likely to interrupt or just jump in with your opinion.
Exactly.
It's so true. It's like our desire to be right or to just offer solutions gets in the way of actually hearing what the other person is trying to say.
All the time.
So we've got seeing deeply, we've got listening with empathy.
Right.
What else is in Brooks's framework here?
Okay, this is where it gets even for me a little challenging. Embracing vulnerability.
Wait, hold on. Seriously. Isn't the whole point of social interaction to put your best foot forward, hide the flaws?
You would think, right. But Brooks, he presents this very compelling argument. And it's backed by research. Being open about our imperfections, about our fears, struggles, the stuff we usually try to keep hidden.
Yeah.
It can actually make us more likable.
Okay, so if I want to make friends and be liked, I should just start spilling all my deepest insecurities.
Well, no.
That doesn't sound right.
There's a nuance to it. Yeah. It's not about oversharing or just dumping your emotional baggage on everyone.
Okay, good.
But think about it. When someone lets you see their authentic self, even the parts they're maybe not proud of.
Yeah.
Doesn't it make them feel more real, more relatable?
I see what you mean. It's like it disarms you because they're not trying to project this perfect image all the time.
Exactly.
But isn't that a risky move? What if people judge you, think less of you?
That's the fear, right?
Yeah.
Brooks acknowledges that. But what he found, and what a lot of research supports, is that this selective vulnerability builds trust.
Oh, interesting.
It shows you're not afraid to be real.
Yeah.
And that gives other people permission to be real with you, too.
So it's like a reciprocal thing. The more vulnerable I am, the more comfortable others will feel being vulnerable with me.
Precisely. It's about breaking down those walls we all kind of build around ourselves.
Yeah.
And creating space for those deeper connections.
And that's where the good stuff happens.
That's where the magic happens.
Okay, so we've got this trifecta. Seeing deeply, listening with empathy, and embracing vulnerability.
Powerful stuff.
But are those just theoretical concepts, or does Brooks give us actual tools to put these into practice? Because I need, like, the how-to guide here.
He does. He dedicates a whole chapter to practical advice filled with actionable tips. But before we jump into those, maybe this is a good spot to, like, pause and let everything sink in for a second.
Yeah, this is a lot. I need a minute to process all of this. It's already shifting my perspective on how I approach relationships.
Me too.
Okay, I'm still, like, wrapping my head around all of that.
It's a lot, yeah.
Seeing deeply, listening with empathy,
right,
embracing vulnerability.
Yeah.
It's a whole new way of thinking about how we interact with people. But before we go full-on philosophical here, I'm curious about the practical stuff.
Right.
Like, does Brooks give us any concrete tools or strategies to actually implement these ideas? Because I'm all about actionable advice.
He does. And you know what? It's not all, like, serious introspection and deep thinking.
Oh, good.
One of the things he talks about is actually the importance of play in building strong relationships.
Play.
Yeah.
Like building pillow forts and having water balloon fights. I mean, while I'm always up for some fun, I'm not sure how that ties into knowing someone deeply.
Well, he's using play in kind of a broader sense. You know, any activity that lets us just let go of our inhibitions, be spontaneous, connect with that, like, inner childlike joy. So it could be playing a sport, making music, even just having a silly conversation or telling jokes.
Yeah.
Anything that creates those moments of shared laughter and lightness.
Okay, I see what you mean. It's about creating those moments where you can just be yourself, let your guard down.
Right.
Without worrying about judgment.
Exactly.
And I can definitely see how that builds intimacy and trust because you're not taking yourself so seriously.
Totally. And what's fascinating is Brooks argues that play lets us see each other in a totally different light.
Oh, interesting.
Like, outside of our usual roles and responsibility.
Right.
It breaks down those barriers and lets our personalities shine through.
That's so true. It reminds me of something I read about how couples who prioritize fun and playfulness in their relationship, they tend to be happier and more resilient.
Oh, yeah, I've heard that too.
It's like injecting silliness into life helps you weather the tough times together.
For sure.
And it totally makes sense, right? Because you're creating these positive memories and shared experiences.
Yeah.
That bond you in a way that just going through the motions can't.
Absolutely. And it goes way beyond romantic relationships too.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Think about the bonds you form with friends or even colleagues through shared hobbies or just, playful banter.
It's true, yeah, those inside jokes.
Yeah, exactly. It's a powerful way to deepen connections, for sure.
So are you suggesting we schedule more game nights and impromptu dance parties?
Hey, I'm always down for that.
Me too, actually.
But no, Brooks's point is that we need to be more intentional about making space for play in our lives.
Yeah.
However that looks for each person.
Right.
It's about finding those things that bring us joy and allow us to connect with others in a more authentic, lighthearted way.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's like giving ourselves permission to be silly and playful actually makes us better at connecting with others. Who knew?
Right.
But of course, life isn't all fun and games.
Right.
There are times when we have to deal with some pretty heavy stuff,
Yeah.
Difficult emotions, both our own and those of the people we care about.
For sure.
Does Brooks address that side of things too?
He does. And this is where his focus on empathy takes on a whole new meaning. Like, he has a whole chapter about navigating moments of suffering, both our own personal struggles and the challenges we face in our relationships.
Right.
He argues that true empathy is essential for getting through those tough times.
Okay, but how does empathy actually help when we're dealing with, like, real pain and suffering? Isn't it just feeling sorry for someone?
No, it's way more than that.
Okay.
Brooks describes empathy as the ability to really understand and share the feelings of another person, even when those feelings are difficult and uncomfortable,
Yeah.
It's about stepping into their shoes, trying to see the world from their perspective,
right,
without judgment or trying to fix it.
Okay. That sounds incredibly challenging, especially when someone's going through something truly heartbreaking or devastating.
Yeah.
How do you even begin to do that without getting totally overwhelmed by their emotions?
It's not easy, and Brooks is honest about that.
Yeah.
He actually shares personal stories about his own struggles to support friends who were going through depression and loss. But he emphasizes that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply be there for someone.
Right.
Listening without judgment, offering comfort and support.
Yeah, it's like that quote about how sometimes people don't need advice. They just need someone to listen, a hand to hold, a heart to understand, them being present with them in their pain.
That's it. And that kind of presence, it requires a deep level of empathy.
Yeah.
A willingness to just sit with discomfort and truly connect with another person's experience.
It's powerful stuff.
It is. Brooks believes that this capacity for empathy is one of the greatest gifts we can offer each other, especially in those moments of need.
Okay, I'm seeing how all these pieces fit together now.
Yeah.
Seeing deeply, listening with empathy, embracing vulnerability, making space for play, and being present with suffering.
It's a whole new framework.
It's like Brooks is giving us a blueprint for building more meaningful, authentic relationships, which I think is something we all crave.
Totally.
Yeah.
And what's inspiring is that Brooks believes these skills, they're not just like innate talents,
Right.
They're things we can cultivate and develop over time.
Okay.
With effort and intention.
Like building a muscle.
Exactly. The more you use it, the stronger it gets.
So even if we're starting from scratch, we can still learn to be better at connecting with and understanding people.
Absolutely.
That's good to know, because I feel like I have a lot of work to do.
We all do. It's a journey.
It's a journey, yeah. But I have a feeling this is an ongoing process, not a quick fix.
You got it.
It's about showing up, being present, and letting the relationship unfold organically over time.
Yeah, exactly.
But, it strikes me that Brooks doesn't just focus on individual relationships.
Right.
He also talks about how these ideas play out on a larger scale, right?
He does. He argues that these skills of connection and empathy,
yeah,
they're not just good for our personal lives,
Right.
They're essential for building a more compassionate and just society.
That's interesting. Like, what if we applied these principles to how we interact with people from different backgrounds, different viewpoints?
Exactly.
Instead of getting caught up in that us versus them mentality,
right?
What if we approach those differences with curiosity and a genuine desire to understand?
It's a game changer.
Right. It's like maybe that's how we start to heal some of the divides that feel so entrenched right now.
I think so too.
Because when we shut down and refuse to listen, nothing changes.
No, exactly.
But when we're open to hearing different perspectives, that's where the possibility for growth and change exists.
Yeah, totally. Brooks believes that when we learn to truly see and understand each other, it breaks down those barriers.
Right.
Creates this sense of shared humanity.
It's powerful stuff.
It is. It allows us to, bridge divides, see the world from different perspectives, and work together to solve those complex problems that we're all facing. It's about recognizing our interconnectedness and acting from a place of compassion and understanding, even when it's hard.
This is mind-blowing. It's like Brooks is connecting the dots between personal growth and societal change.
Yeah.
He's saying that becoming better at knowing individuals can actually ripple outwards and create a better world.
I love that. That's the beauty of his work.
It is.
He always manages to connect the personal to the political, to show how our choices and actions have these ripple effects,
It's true.
that extend far beyond just ourselves.
Okay, this is giving me so much to think about.
It's a lot.
It's like we've gone from how to be a better friend to how to create a more compassionate world.
Right.
This book is so much more than I expected.
It's a deep dive, for sure.
It really is.
Deep dive into the human experience.
Yeah, and I think we've given our listener a lot to digest here.
We have.
So maybe it's time to take a little break, let everything sink in,
Yeah.
and then we'll come back and wrap up our exploration of how to know a person.
Sounds good.
We at Book Summary and Reviews not only summarize the books, but also dive deep into their essence. Join our community passionate about reading, learning, and growing together. With us, you'll always have your next great read lined up, insightful reviews at your fingertips, and thoughtful discussions that enrich your reading experience.
Hit that subscribe button so you never miss out on our latest summaries and reviews. Let's make reading even more exciting together.
So we're back. And I have to say, this conversation has really, shifted my thinking about relationships.
Yeah, it's powerful stuff, isn't it?
It really is. It's like Brooks has given us this map to navigate all the complexities of human connection.
Right.
Both with ourselves and with others.
Yeah.
But I keep coming back to something you mentioned earlier about knowing someone being an art.
Oh, yeah.
What do you mean by that?
Well, it was one of the most compelling things in the book for me. Brooks argues that there's no one-size-fits-all approach,
Okay.
No magic formula for truly knowing someone.
Yeah.
It takes intuition, creativity, a willingness to just be present with that unique, ever-evolving nature of each person.
That's a beautiful thought, but also kind of daunting.
I know.
If there's no cheat sheet, where do we even begin?
Right.
Do we all need to become poets or painters to understand people better?
No art degree required.
Yeah.
But Brooks does offer some guidance. He emphasizes things like asking thoughtful questions, listening with intention, sharing our own stories and vulnerabilities in an authentic way.
Yeah.
It's about creating that space for a real connection to just unfold naturally.
He also talks about paying attention to the little things, right? Like someone's favorite book or the way they make their coffee.
Oh, absolutely.
It's those small details that can reveal so much about who they are.
Exactly. It's those nuances, the things that reveal their character, their values, their passions.
Yeah.
It's about finding those extraordinary bits within the ordinary, appreciating those details that actually tell a bigger story.
You know what's interesting to me? This whole knowing a person thing isn't just about the other person. It's about knowing ourselves, too.
Yes.
Like our own biases, assumptions, insecurities, all of that can really distort how we see other people.
That's such a good point. Brooks really emphasizes that we can't truly know someone else until we understand ourselves. Our inner world shapes everything, how we see the world, how we interact with people.
Yeah.
So the more self-aware we are, the more clearly we can see others.
So it's like a two-way street. The deeper our self-understanding, the better we are at connecting with others.
Exactly. And that's where Brooks's emphasis on personal growth comes in.
Okay.
He really encourages us to be lifelong learners, to cultivate that self-awareness, to challenge our assumptions, be open to new perspectives.
It's a journey.
It's a journey, yeah, and it informs every relationship we have.
Okay. I think I'm starting to get the big picture here. Knowing a person is an art. It's a journey.
Yeah.
And it all starts with looking inward,
So true.
But I have to ask, what's the payoff? Why should we put in all this effort to truly know someone?
That's a great question. I think Brooks would say the reward is immeasurable.
Yeah.
When we learn to truly know and be known, we experience a level of connection and intimacy that just isn't possible at the surface.
Yeah.
We discover the beauty and complexity of the human spirit in ourselves and in others.
It's like unlocking this whole hidden dimension of human experience, right?
I think so.
Filled with depth, compassion, and understanding. And those are things worth striving for.
Absolutely. And it reminds us that even in this crazy, fast-paced world, real connection is possible. It just takes intention, effort, and a lot of heart.
So well said. And as we wrap up this deep dive, I'm really curious, what resonated with you most, listener? Was it the empathy piece, the power of vulnerability, the importance of play? Something else entirely? Let us know.
Yeah, and as you keep thinking about all of this, I want to leave you with a question that Brooks asks in the book.
Oh, okay.
He says, if truly knowing someone is an art, what kind of artist do you want to be? It's a really powerful invitation to think about how we approach relationships and how we can be more skillful in this art of human connection.
Such a good question. And that's a wrap for today's deep dive. Thanks for joining us on this journey into how to know a person. Keep exploring, keep connecting, and until next time, keep learning